Very good afternoon. Welcome to Les Sables d'Olonne, the first Monday of the year. It's a happy Monday for Thomas Riong and indeed for Damien Seguin, who have both crossed Cape Horn this morning, linked out at 0040 hours, 20 hours behind Apivia, and Apicil Group, Damien Seguin, 2 hours later, the first daggerboard boat crossing the Cape Horn. And a great accomplishment really for both of them. Deliverance in different forms for Thomas Riong. Remember, he had to pull out of the last race with problems after hitting an object and the boat nearly breaking into. So a great moment for Thomas this morning. But meantime, a blue Monday for Isabelle Joschke. She's had problems over the last few days, but suffering a keel ram deficiency since yesterday. She's had to centre the keel in the middle and can't cant the keel on MACSF any longer, unfortunately. So she will be compromised until the finish of the race, unless she can find some kind of solution. So my guests today, we have Alain Gautier, who's the 1992-93 Vendée Globe winner and the team manager for Isabelle Joschke's MACSF team. Alain, hello. And also, we have Eric Blondo, who is the mental coach for the leader just now, Yannick Bestaven's Matricock team. Now, Eric is a behavioural mechanisms expert. He is an expert in decision making. He's a hostage negotiator. He's a mental coach, and he also worked with the Scotland rugby team, so he can't be all bad. But in the meantime, as they say, the more you scratch the surface of the Matricock team, the more you realise there are some super smart people in the team. And Yannick Bestaven has clearly made a lot of smart decisions so far. But as I said, the problems this morning and yesterday are with Isabelle Joschke with her keel ram issue. And this is Isabelle earlier today when we spoke with her.
Et je vous souhaite une très bonne année. J'espère d'ailleurs qu'elle a mieux démarré que la mienne. Parce que moi j'ai accumulé les mauvaises surprises là depuis 3 jours. J'ai perdu mon dernier aérien. J'ai mon petit Jenaker qui s'est déchiré cette nuit. Et j'ai le vérin de quille qui s'est cassé tout à l'heure. Ce qui veut dire que je vais devoir continuer la course avec la quille bloquée dans l'axe. Donc c'est une grosse perte de potentiel, grosse perte de vitesse sur le bateau. Et puis la quille, c'est la stabilité. C'est aussi un outil de sécurité. Donc dans un peu plus de 24 heures, je vais passer le Cap Horn avec des sentiments très partagés. La joie et la satisfaction d'avoir atteint cet objectif, de sortir des mers du Sud. Et la grosse déception de devoir démarrer une autre course qui n'est pas celle dont j'avais complètement rêvé. Mais je continuerai de donner le meilleur de moi.
So very disappointing times for Isabelle Joschke and indeed for Alain Gautier. Alain Gautier, how are you and the team dealing with this issue?
We are so sad. It's a huge sadness for us and for Isabelle. She made a fantastic race, and she's a very hard racing girl. You know, she wants to have the best race as she can, and unfortunately she has this problem on the last 2 days, and we don't know exactly what's happened, why this problem arrived, but now she has to sail with the keel in the middle of the boat, and she will lose a lot of potential.
So there's no solution to this. This is the situation to the finish.
You know, she will sail to finish the race. It is the first objective of Isabelle, and she's still on race. But with the keel in the middle, the potential is really of the boat is really less performant, and she can sail with the keel in the middle. But she have to learn his boat now with this new configuration. And we will see what's happened for the next days. We will let Isabelle maybe accept the situation before discussing and maybe changing some things for learning the boat.
And what's your role at this point then? Do you support her mentally, or is she in a reasonable place?
No, I am the team manager, about a technical problem. For the mental problems, Isabelle have mental guys who help her since a long time. She know Isabelle very well, and I think he give her a lot of good things to pass after the problem.
But she has become a real competitor in this race, hasn't she? We've loved seeing her evolve in this race.
She have still been a real competitor. When she raced on the mini transat, she won the first leg. I don't remember the year. On the figure race, she won a race to Turkish, and no, she have the competition in his blood and in her blood, and she's so disappointed because she made a very nice race, and now it's a new race for her. That's why I explained to her yesterday. It's a new race, and the first objective is still there.
So what's impressed you most about the way Isabelle has taken on this race? She's very competitive, but she's developed, hasn't she?
Yeah, she have tenacity, and really, I think the girl have maybe more tenacity as the boys. And I remember Helen MacArthur, and his man, she's hard to. She want to sail better as possible, the best as possible, and she did very well the race. And I don't know exactly what can I say about that, but she made a fantastic race.
She did indeed. Now, Alan, tell us about the race up the Atlantic. What's your view? What can happen away from Isabelle's race for a moment? What do you see as the strategies and how it will play out?
For Isabelle or for
No, for the front of the fleet.
For the front, yes, it will be interesting. Yannick made a fantastic race, and he is leading the race with a few miles, and it's very good for the mental. It's we know Yannick, he pushes his boat harder, and it will depend about the weather forecast, for the next week before the doldrums. It's not so simple actually, and we remember Armel and Alex 4 years ago. We remember also Hélène and Michel Desjoyaux with a big 600 miles between the two leaders, and at the doldrums it was just 20 miles between the two leaders, even in 2000 and in 2016. And we for the public, it's really interesting to follow the race because it will be very interesting.
Who's your money on? Who are you betting is going to win, Alan?
Actually, not for the moment, but actually I have 3 of my podium in the first place.
So what's the order though?
I will not say you.
Go on. Listen, we've got a couple of interesting internet questions from our followers of the race. I think they're Alain Gautier fans. But the first is really, how did the Vendée Globe affect the way you lived your life afterwards on land and ocean racing in general? Did it change the way that you lived your life?
The Vendée Globe in 1993 was not so mediatic as now, but the people in the street recognize me, and it's different. You are in your world, in the world sailing, you are a winner of the Vendée Globe, and it's a state you cannot imagine before. And to find sponsor, I think it's also a better way, where you won a Vendée. But except that, I am not a star, I have not the physical of a star, and I can live very quietly.
You're becoming a big star in England, though, Alan. The other question, though, is somebody asking about whether you would set up a Vendée Globe museum for the Bagage Superior. That's our second internet question. Would you set up some kind of Vendée Globe museum with your Vendée Globe winning boat Bagage Superior?
Hi, I love this boat, and I will be very pleased to refit it. Actually, she's in Poland, but it spends money. It's different, you know, about a racing car. It's easier to refit old racing car because the value of the car is really very, very high. For a racing boat, you spend money, but the value of your boat will not increase a lot, and it's so hard. But it's a good idea. It will be very interesting to see all the IMOCA. It was not named IMOCA in the 90s, but and I think it's a problem also to have those kind of boat for the new rules, IMOCA rules.
Good. And Alan, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully you'll come back and join us before the finish, and hopefully we'll see you in Les Sables d'Olonne towards the end of the month. So Alain Gautier, thank you so much.
May I can add something?
Of course.
I'm really impressed by two people. All the skippers of the race are really strong, but I'm really impressed by Damien Seguin and also Pip Hare. Fantastic race for Pip Hare. Really, it's fantastic. See you. Bye.
See you. We'll pass on your best wishes to both of them when we next speak, and 100% agree on both counts. Let's look at the standings then at midday today. Well, it is still Yannick Bestaven leading by 191 miles ahead of Charlie Dallin. Dallin has lost some miles just recently. Thomas Riong in third, 343.7 miles behind the leader. Damien Seguin about 50-60 miles behind Thomas Riong now. Benjamin Dutroux solid in fifth, really. Louis Burton is 636, so 26 miles behind Benjamin Dutroux. Jean Le Cam is another 50 miles or so behind in seventh. Boris Herman still close with Jean Le Cam in eighth. Maxime Sorel in ninth. Giancarlo Padotti in 10th has swapped places with Isabelle Joschke. Then further down, just quickly looking at the internationals, well, Pip Hare in 15th, going steadily. We spoke with her. She's kind of into the rhythm now of her situation and thinking much more positively on board Metalia. Alan Roura is quite close, and they're speaking together, interestingly enough. Pip and Alan Roura, and also La Micheline, Arnaud Boissier, they're all communicating down there on WhatsApp and on VHF when they can. Further down the table, Didac Costa in 20th, solid 13.1 knots. He's in a good position just now. Kojiro Shiraishi doing much the same kind of speeds and about 200 miles behind Didac just now. Remember, he's always got that one reef. And then Miranda Meron steady in 23rd. Ari Husela in 26th, and Sebastian Destremo seems to be making good progress and has crossed the Cape Lewin. And I think we're still expecting him to head for Tasmania. So let's bring in hopefully Eric Blondeau, who is our guest who works with Yannick Bestaven. Eric, how are you?
Good afternoon, Andy, and Happy New Year to you. I'm very well, actually.
Good. Now tell us what your work with Yannick before the start entailed. What did you work on with him specifically?
We met late, actually, in the training, because we met in May. So he started already many experience with his team. And we met in May because he felt that it was something which was necessary in his training.
And what kind of things did you do then? What were the strengths and weaknesses that you saw in his mental approach?
I have no liberty to actually share officially the details of what I discovered, but basically what we do when we start to work together, like with every other competitor I'm working with, is we try to understand the brain mechanism, which are his mechanism, in order to decipher what would be the risk on their perception, fear, emotions, and the belief he had, which would slow down his performance. And once we become conscious of that, we can actually find a way to escape the influence of those parameters on the performance. So we spent a lot of time together on the ground. We just visited the boat together once. I've asked him to introduce me the boat, and we have been in the boat. We visited the boat to see where he would spend more than 70, maybe 80 days in the place.
And how much progress do you feel you made between the time you started and the time you finished?
What I think about my progress doesn't count. What I think is what Yannick progress
Well, that's what
counts.
I mean, yes.
So it's much more to him to ask him. I mean, the progress, but in a certain situation, he's capable to act differently. The problem of the brain is that we have brain mechanism, automatism, which comes spontaneously if you feel a situation. And my role is to try to replace. We can't remove an automatism. We can only actually add new automatism. And what we did together is to add new automatism to face and to anticipate on the race, on everything which was possible in the race.
So that covers everything from the small decisions to the big strategic decisions.
Yeah, the purpose is actually to understand how he thinks. When I put him in a situation which was not expected, the concept is to understand the paradox and the surprise effect on his decision-making approach. So my role is not to answer and propose solution. My role is to question him and push his thinking process to his limit, to a point that he has to be more creative and avoid the surprise if something similar happened during the race.
And where does the influence of stress and tiredness fit into that equation?
Stress is a pulse. It's something which happens when you face a danger. So the danger is important. The stress is something you can change. And if you change the vision of someone, you change his behavior. So the concept was to understand what would stress him the most and how we can propose to the brain something which would interfere with this option, not to fall in the automatism and not to actually give the weight of the stress to overcome his decision-making process.
And in his particular case, he obviously had a big disappointment in 2008 when he started the race and had to retire after 26 hours. Was that a fear of failure that was in his mental processing capabilities?
Very interesting question. It often comes with sports people when they lost the final or when they lost a game or when they lost the race like this. There is a trace, a memory, a trace which could impact it. But we visited the place, we sorted it out, and we thrown it away because the weight, there is no depth of the losing of this race in this new edition of the Vendée Globe. So the concept is to focus on what will happen and not on what has happened. Because these automatisms are ready. He's a fantastic sailor. He has a fantastic team around him. I mean, all the technicians around him have prepared the boat immensely well, and they are all prepared to help him on the phone. So my role was to prepare him for the future and to adapt himself to the situations.
And so does he leave Les Sables alone with a road book of scenarios that you have prepared with him, or is it just once he sets off he's on his own? Because I know I spoke with Boris Herman, psychologist, and I know that he has got numerous different psychological situations that he has to identify and has processes to go through.
It's not and, it's not or, it's and. We have planned some situation which could happen, and we also have prepared himself to the unknown, uncertain, irrational, and complex situation which would happen, which both of us could not anticipate. For instance, the Cap Horn this year, the weather at the Cap Horn, none of us could anticipate on this. So we prepare the situation that he had to adapt on something which was not prepared at all. But on some regular things, which was small repairs or decision making, for instance, linked to the weather, he had different scenario, and he knew how to organize himself in order to take quick decision and well thought decision, which were not influenced by his past or the other competitors. It's something which is very important, is not to be swallowed by the race of other people.
Interesting. We'll come back to you in just 1 minute. I mean, for me, it was fascinating to see the different reactions as the sailors come round Cape Horn, and that huge shout of delight with Yannick was quite instructive in a way, wasn't it? It was an insight into the release of tension.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have the chance to do this, but when you suffer so much, when I would go out from the dentist myself, I mean, that's exactly the kind of reaction which I have. So that's what I think Yannick had very spontaneously, and he wanted to share this with his technical team as well.
Eric, I'm right with you in the dentist scenario, but we'll come back to you in just 1 minute. We're going to look at the weather situation, particularly for the climb up the Atlantic for Yannick, and indeed Charlie Dallin and everybody in the forefront of the race. Well, a fairly typical situation in the Pacific just now for all of the fleet. The train of low pressures moving quickly towards the east and different systems for different groups of boats. Looking first of all really at the group coming into Cape Horn, fairly typical situation for them really coming in generally fairly downwind or broad reaching conditions. They'll be able to rise up towards the Cape, keeping a little bit of distance off. But you know, 30 knots, 25 knots for them just now, and it should be fairly reasonable conditions compared to what we saw for Yannick Bestaven and Charlie Dallin, and less so for the two boats which went round earlier today. Thomas Riong and Damien Sagan. Sagan has jibed off. Sagan going a much more direct route. And then this group behind, well, Clarice Kramer, Armel Tripon and Roman Attanasio, very much in front of the front. Northwesterly winds quite strong, but relatively flat seas compared to what we're having behind the front. Then further back in the fleet, looking at Jeremy Bayou here, along with Pip Hare and Stéphane Landeraison, all in a similar group. They're just in front of this low pressure, quite breezy conditions for them, but it will build for them over the next 24 hours, and they have quite strong winds behind. Meantime, Didac Costa, our Spanish competitor, up above the worst of the conditions, but really having a nice angle to come back down towards the ice gate as this system moves forward in the southwesterly breeze. So that's all about playing the angles for Didac just now. Then looking then at the animation, if I can just quickly stop this before we get too far. And I'll just roll it back. So here we are, this is Monday midday, and we're looking at the situation for principally for the leaders. We have this big high pressure system up here. Now remember, the St. Helena High is up here, and that is which is producing the trade winds, the easterly trade winds. That's really the long-term target, and the further east you are, the quicker you can get to them. But a little bit further to the west, you're sailing a slightly shorter, more direct distance in the meantime. So that's the balance as we watch. As we watch Yannick Bestaven going up and Charlie Dallin a little bit further out, and the boat's inside, going up closer to the centre of the high and working to the west side of the high. We're seeing some compression then with the two boats behind, with Damien Sagan and indeed Thomas Riong, and then also this chasing pack being able to close up a little bit as well. So really over the next 5 or 6 days, it's going to be fascinating to watch. Indeed, the whole climb up the Atlantic is going to be fascinating all the way to the finish. Indeed. Well, it will be fascinating all the way to the finish. Eric, what kind of mental state do you see Yannick in at the moment then?
I think he's very relieved to have left the oceans and now to go back home. But we are very conscious on not progressing more than what's important. And every day are important, and you have to play it day by day. So, but he's very relieved on this, and he has done all the repairs he had to do and the cleaning of the boat. And now he's prepared for this racing, which will be fantastic to watch.
And how does he manage, or how does he know the red zone and when he's making decisions? What did you work on there, for example?
What you call the red zones are zones which we don't want to go into. When you go into this, I mean, it takes a lot of work to go back from there. So we try to avoid this. I mean, only the surprise can actually bring you into the red zone if you don't anticipate this. So we worked as much as possible on what could happen, even some of the accidents which we anticipated. And one thing we didn't anticipate is obviously having to support Kevin and Jean-Luc Cam in this venture, but it's something which will be planned in the future for sure.
And did you anticipate him being in the lead? Is that something you discussed in terms of strategy before the start of the race?
We discussed all the options, and this one, it would be rude not to discuss this option, by the way. So we discussed this one, and it's also very different for a competitor like Yannick, not to follow somebody, but it's one of the first things we discuss. If you follow somebody, you can't finish first. So at one stage, you have to be able to race on your own and watch where the other one are and to trace your own route.
Eric, we could talk all day. What are the prospects for Scottish rugby?
This one we can talk for a long time. I mean, I hope that they will do something for the World Cup.
Indeed. So lovely to talk with you, and all the best. Good, great information.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
So Damien Seguin came round Cape Horn, a big moment for him, the first daggerboard boat. And this was Damien just after he came round in what we call the champagne moment.
Eh ben nous y voilà les amis. Mon premier Cap Horn, un truc de fou quoi. Premier Cap Horn, 4e du Vendée Globe. Voilà. J'en reviens à peine, j'ai pleuré toutes les larmes de mon corps tout à l'heure en y repensant. Et il y a eu tellement d'efforts pour en arriver là. Tellement dur, là il fait pas beau, il fait froid, mais voilà, j'y suis arrivé, c'est top, le chemin est encore long, mais ça fait un bon bout de chemin déjà de fait, puis on va fêter ça dignement. Allez, il bute pas. Alors, un peu pour le bateau, un peu pour l'océan, et un petit coup pour moi aussi. Ah c'est cool. C'est cool. Allez, il reste la remontée de l'Atlantique Sud, l'Atlantique Nord, et puis je vous donne rendez-vous dans quelques semaines au Sainte-Dolonne si tout va bien.
So that's Damien Seguin enjoying the moment at Cape Horn. This is him when we spoke to him earlier on today in English. Damien, on behalf of everybody in the Anglo-Saxon world, many congratulations for your passage of Cape Horn.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Oh, it was a really wonderful moment. Yeah, to pass the Cape Horn in 4th position, the first non-foiler. So it's wonderful. It's like a dream for me, and now my job is to do my best in the South Atlantic, and the Big South is behind me, and now I have to return home, and it will be not really easy because the weather forecast is very complicated. But if I sail as I sailed last week, I think I can do a very good job to Les Sables-d'Olonne.
Tell me how you feel now after rounding Cape Horn. Are you tired, exhausted, elated? What's your mood?
Yes, I'm really tired, but I think everybody is tired. The south was not easy for all of the fleet, but that we have in front of us is not really easy too. So I don't know where I can sleep, but I will do my best as usual.
But listen, Damien, you were very good in the south for a first timer. What do you put that down to? What was the reason for you going so fast and so well?
I will not give you my secret, but the south was really special because we had the ZEA, the ice exclusion zone. So it was like in a big race for me because we have this exclusion zone, so we can have good strategy. But now in South Atlantic, it's not the same. It's really bigger. It's a bigger area, and I hope that I can do like in the south. But it's not easy because the weather forecast is not really good. But I will see.
But in the big picture, is the advantage with the boats which are chasing or the boats which are in front?
Yeah, Thomas is just in front of me. I know he wants to pass in the Détroit of Le Maire. It's not what I'm doing now, but you know, everything can happen in the next 2 weeks. Maybe I can catch Thomas. Maybe we will see. We will see. I really don't know, but I will do my best on my boat, and I don't want to have regrets. So I'm sailing as I want.
So Damien Seguin there at Cape Horn earlier on this morning. He doesn't want to have any regrets, but he does say anything can happen in the next 2 weeks up to Les Sables d'Olonne. Our guest tomorrow is Fabrice Amadeo. He'll be on the plateau on the stage with us tomorrow, talking about the Ocean Decade, a big sustainability issue, looking after ocean health. Any questions or observations about that, or indeed anything to do with the race, do post them on our social media channels on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. We'll see you tomorrow.